Hello there, everybody. Sean Sheehan back here with another edition of the Sheehan Show for Sherdog.com. And there's no PFL, no Bellator this week, eating no Cage Warriors. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different look maybe at the UFC. And I'm going to look at the top two fights here in a little bit of depth, talk through them, and, break them down a little bit, because I think they're two very, very interesting fights. And fights that really matter in the divisional reckonings in both of these divisions, in terms of maybe not the next fight, but maybe two fights down the line, which is something that often gets maybe overlooked in terms of like the continued discourse, I suppose. But that's something I think that I'm going to look at here and just break down the fights themselves, because I think they are both very, very good fights and very interesting fights in different ways. I'll run quickly through the card because I know the other guys are doing the preview, so check that out please over on Sherdog on the YouTube channel and on the website as well. The lads do a great live stream before and after events, and put up great videos talking about the UFC cards coming up. So I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it as well this week. And Bellator Cage Warriors is coming up as well in a couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to talking about those two fights. Still a lot of fights to be announced, I think, for those two cards. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens there. Hopefully we'll get a few title fights, a few Irish guys on the card as well. But what has already been announced is, there's some good fights, but there's nothing standout yet. You don't have the Paddy Piblets there anymore, the Ian Gary's there anymore, and things like that. But Ben Elliott is going to be on that. I hope maybe to talk to him before the card comes up. I think he is kind of one of the next guys coming through, and he's coming out of Wales. He's a really, really good prospect that I think people should keep an eye on. But I suppose that's a chat for another day. Let's quickly just run through the card here. So at the weekend, and I will look at the two main fights as I mentioned in more depth. So this is the list UFC gave me. I'm not sure if it is the official card or not. I suppose that will be decided, I suppose, during the week. So Luana Pinheiro, 9-1, fighting out of here in Janeiro, Brazil. She's fighting against Sam Hughes, 5-3, out of Everett, Washington. That's at strawweight. Sheehan Nirbika is 19-7 even. He's out of China, and he is looking to he'll be fighting Sean Siriano here out of Boca Raton, Florida, who is 14-7. That's at the featherweight division. In the flyweights, Cody Durden, who is 11-3-1 out of Georgia. He is fighting another Chinese fighter. Arquiqing, Arkungling. I'm going with that. I think I nailed that there. 18-8, and they're both looking for their first UFC victory. In terms of McKinney, who has been great value in the cage and on Twitter, I suppose, over the last while. He's looking to get back after his UFC debut. He's fighting Faraz Ziham, who is 12-3 out of France in that lightweight division. That one is as well. In strawweights, Luma Lukboom, who has the best name in MMA. She sounds like a Harry Potter character. She's 6-2 from Thailand, fighting Lupi Godinez, who I believe is breaking the record for like the most fights in UFC history over the shortest period. Like, she's had 3 fights in something like 21 or not 21 days, like 30. I don't know, 30. What is it? 35 days or something like that. It was 42 days. I don't know anyway, but it's really, really, really quick turnaround again for Lupi, who, looked good in her first fight. Looked like she maybe took the second fight too quickly, and now she's doing it again. So let's see if she can turn around and do a little bit differently this time. But she's a very good prospect, fighting the strawweight division here again against Lukboom, so that should be fun. Then we have Rafa Garcia, 12-2, or maybe Rafa Garcia, out of California. He's looking for his first UFC victory. He's taking on Nathan Levy, who's out of Dana White Contender Series, 6-0 in the lightweight division. And Pat Sabatini, 15-3, is taking on Tucker Lutz, 12-1 in featherweight. Davey Grant, who, a quick mention for Davey Grant here, I suppose. He's taking on Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez, 14-3 out of Texas, 13-5. Davey Grant out of County Durham and Newcastle in the northwest of England. My friend Jake Smith will kill me if I ruin that one. But Davey has been around for a while. He was I believe he's on the Ronda Rousey season of Tough. So he's a guy, that he look, he's had some tough fights. He's had some tough losses. He's had some injuries. He's been out of the cage for a long time before. I think his last fight, or maybe 2 fights ago. But this is a guy who has a lot of the qualities. He's a very good boxer, good takedown defense, good on the ground. And I think Davey is one of those guys where if he can get a run going, if he can, get a big win, like Adrian Yanez would be a big win for him here. I think he is a guy that could cause maybe trouble in that division and rise maybe higher than people think. Because I think, sometimes you see a fighter, right, and they have an elite skill set in one area, but they're lacking in another area, and you're like, well, they're really good if they can bring the fight to their area where they're fantastic at. They can go all the way, they can go as far as the world takes them, as the ceiling takes them. But I actually think, like, more so guys who are steady and good in all areas, like say someone like a Leon Edwards. I don't think Leon Edwards is elite in any area, but he's right up at the top of the division with however many 11 wins in a row or whatever it is, because of that well-roundedness, and because he is anywhere you want to beat him, you're going to find it very hard. If you're trying to beat him with jiu-jitsu, if you're trying to beat him with boxing, if you're trying to beat him with wrestling, it's going to be very hard to beat him with any of those. Now, if you're elite, yeah, absolutely, maybe. And I think Davey Grant, not maybe to that level yet, but I think he is the type of guy who's he's good. He's good everywhere and will never give you an easy fight, will drag you into a war and usually win that war. It's not always worked out for him, but usually I think he will win that if he needs to. And I think that sort of fighter, if they can keep getting experience, if they can keep fighting, I think, I like Davey, and I really think that is the path for him to success. I think is staying active and fighting, basically. Next fight in is another Brit. We have Joanne Wood now, I believe. I think she's got married to John Wood, the trainer, but I'm going to call her like 007 Wood. Calder Wood. So that's what I'm going with. But she's ranked number 6 at flyweight, out of obviously Glasgow in Scotland. She's taking on Talia Santos, 18-1 from Brazil. A big matchup that one is there. So I'm really looking forward to that and seeing how that one goes. Joanne Calderwood. I think everyone thought when Joanne came through at the start, or Jojo, that, like, I remember I used to do these predictions for I still do them, predictions for the year, and Joanne Calderwood being the champion out of that first season of Tough was one of mine. I just thought she had it all, but it just hasn't really happened for her. I think for Joanne, I think her biggest issue maybe is like an athletic or strength issue. I think people can kind of bully her around a bit too much in terms of strength. Now, I don't think in terms of technique or in terms of toughness or anything like that in lots of different areas. Maybe in jiu-jitsu a little bit in technique, but in boxing and in Muay Thai and stand-up, she's as good as anyone there. But I just think she does get by. And that's the thing, right? And the problem is when you're that tough, when you're as tough as she is, it's not something you can learn. You already know that. Like, you're already as tough as you're going to be. Like, it's hard to get tougher than someone like Joanne Calderwood or someone fighting at the very top level of mixed martial arts. So I think that's always going to be their issue. And against Talia Santos, 18-1, I think that could be the issue here again. But looking forward to seeing that. And then Hani Yahya, 27-10-1. One of my favourite fighters to watch down through the years. He's been absolutely fantastic. This could be a fight of the night. A contender against Hyo Young Kang, who's out of South Korea, 18-7-1, no contest. He was one of Grabaka Hitman's favourites coming through, I think. And he's a very exciting fighter as well. Big high kicks, and I always love a Hani Yahya triangle. So we will see with that one, but I'm really looking forward to that. And that's everything on the card here so far. I'm not sure if anything got taken off or was put on, but now with UFC cards and with the situation we're in at the moment, how it goes. So let's get to the top 2 fights. So we have Michael Chiesa, 18-5, obviously fighting out of Spokane, Washington, winner of Tough 15. He's wins over the likes of Carlos Condit, Diego Sanchez, Rafael Dos Anjos, Neil Magny, against Sean Brady, 14-0. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, really top prospect. He's beat Court McGee, Nurdiev, Jake Matthews. And watching them fight, it's a very, very interesting matchup here because if you look at Brady, he's a horrible fighter to fight. He's as strong as hell, really good wrestling, really good jiu-jitsu. He's a brilliant guillotine as well. If you try to take him down, he's a great left hook, hits hard. His striking looks good to me. A nightmare. And if you look at Chiesa, he circle. That's the first thing you have to say about Chiesa. He's long. He attacks with those 1-2s right down the middle. A beautiful left hook, or a beautiful straight left, even fight out of the southpaw position. It's so tough against someone like Chiesa when they fight like that. They just make it so awkward. His wrestling has improved an awful lot, and things like that. And look, a few intricacies in this, right? When you look at Chiesa, right, Chiesa's game usually runs how the fight goes, and people usually have to fight into his game because of that mad circling around the cage. And that's either a good thing for him or a good thing for his opponent. Not necessarily always a good thing for him. Rafael dos Anjos, when he was on the way in, caught him with a big left hook. Big left hook. Sean Brady throws lovely left hooks. I'm sure he will be looking at that. He will have looked at that fight and will be able to try to catch him with something. But I think what this circling does for Chiesa, right, who I believe he's no knockout in UFC or in his MMA career. He's all, wrestling, submissions. He's not bad on the feet, don't get me wrong, but he is a ground fighter. Let's put it that way. What that circling on the feet does for Chiesa is force people to come after him. It forces you to either try to push him back, forces you to fight off the cage to try to stop him circling, it forces you to cut off the cage. It forces you to do something unnatural, something that you more than likely don't want to do. It forces you to fight his fight. Now, his fight might work out well for you, it might work out badly for you, but it does force that, right? And what that does for Chiesa and why it worked well for him is twofold, I think, or maybe even more. But I think what it does well for him is you being more open, allows that straight left down through the middle, but it also leaves more openings for the takedowns. And that's, I think, people maybe look at Chiesa and go, his takedowns have gotten better. I think it's the ability to circle and his use of the openness of his opponents to get those takedowns that have made him easier, which makes him look better, if that makes sense, and that's his method of victory, that really is his method of victory. Now, coming up against someone like Sean Brady, who is, I'm going to say it again, strong. The brick house Paul Felder is trying to get him nicknamed, and that's exactly what he is. Is he going to be able to get those takedowns against Brady? Is he able to? First of all, is he going to be able to draw Brady out over? If this is a 3-round fight, isn't it? Yeah, it is. If this was a 5-round fight, maybe it would be a little bit different, Maybe it would be a bit different and Brady would be able to wait a little bit more. When it is 3 rounds, he's not going to be able to wait forever. So he's going to have to be smart and make Chiesa pay. So when I'm looking at this fight, I think what I mentioned earlier what RDA did, he didn't do enough of it, but he did it early. He caught Chiesa with a big left hook. I think that's what Brady needs to do. I think he needs to catch Chiesa coming in. I think when Chiesa attacks with those straights, he needs to get that head under, dip down under, get low, and do a bit of circling himself. Get out, maybe attack the body on the way out or whatever it might be. I don't think you can give that opportunity to Chiesa to land those strikes inside. Now, giving him the opportunity to engage in wrestling, I don't think is the worst thing in the world for Sean Brady at all, because I think he can win that fight, Will he win that fight? I don't know. Maybe he won't, but I think he can. But I really want to see this fight go to the ground because Brady on top is an absolute animal, an animal on top, and he's just whenever you see Sean Brady fighting, just his back is so big. I've never seen a human being with a back that big weighing 170 pounds. He is an absolute animal of a man. If he gets on top of you, no matter how good you are at jiu-jitsu, no matter how good you are on the ground, it's going to be very, very tough to get him off you and to stop him, maybe getting a head and arm choke or doing a bit of catch wrestling. I know he's a jiu-jitsu black belt, but he's the perfect frame for a bit of catch, Whereas Chiesa then, you saw the fight against Luke as well. Chiesa can be caught because he is he goes for things on the ground. You know, he will transition to try to take the back and take a few shots there. And if he gets it, he will probably choke you out. You know, he didn't with Luque. Luque was able to get out of it and then get to choke himself. But that's why I want to see this in the ground. Like, will Chiesa get to choke? Will he land on the bottom and take a few fucking knees to the body and get mounted and, you know, have to survive a couple of chokes himself? I think it's a very, very interesting fight. And, you know, both of these guys, I think Chiesa's ranked in the, you know, both of them are ranked in the top 15 anyway in the UFC official ranking. I'm not sure what the Sherdog rankings, maybe we can pull them up and see it, but they're both right up there. And look, this is a fight you could say that's made for Sean Brady to climb. He is very, very good, you know, very, very good. And we talked, all the talk recently in welterweight is about Chimaev, and it's all about how he is the next guy and he's the champion in waiting. Well, Sean Brady is worming his way up here with not too much fuss, and he has gotten the fight that Chimaev has not been able to get, you know, a top contender with a big number beside their name. And if he is able to beat him, he is up there. He really is up there. So I'm really looking forward to this. And don't rule Chiesa out. I've done it before. I won't lie anyone. It's probably on record. I've ruled Chiesa out in fights before. I've ruled him out as like a top contender, and I've been wrong before. So I refuse to do it again. He could absolutely win this fight, but it's a very interesting fight. I think a very tactical fight on the feed. Look, if Brady, maybe I didn't speak enough about it, but if Brady can keep it on the feed, get his fight going, cut off that cage, push Chiesa back and get it turned into a bit of a kickboxing match where the circling isn't as big of a factor, I think Brady will win that fight all day. I think he's very good in that position, but I just do feel like Chiesa will force him into his fight, but I actually still think Brady will win that fight. But however, we'll talk more about that maybe on the betting show, which will be coming up in the next while on Sherdog.com on the YouTube channel. So please click subscribe if you're here, and click that thumbs up as well. But the main event then, we have the former UFC bantamweight champion Miesha Tate, 19-7. She's fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada now. She obviously is on her way back. She's a pioneer of women's MMA, made her debut all the way back in 2007. She's beaten the likes of Sarah McMahon, Liz Caramouche, Holly Holm. Just a fantastic fighter. She's fighting Ketlen Vieira, 11-2. Sorry, she's fighting out of Brazil. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and in judo as well, I believe. She's beaten Sarah McMahon as well, beaten Kat Zingano, beaten Ashley Evans Smith. And, you know, when you look at this fight, it's another very interesting one. Viera, watching a couple of her fights, just the first thing you have to say, a little bit like Sean Brady, she's big, she's strong. You know, that's the first thing you have to say about Ketlen Vieira. She's a lovely 1-2. She hits very hard. I think her biggest issue maybe is the in-between bits. You know, the transition between the striking and the wrestling and the BJJ. Like, her striking, for the most part, I think is very good. Her wrestling is very good when she gets on top. Her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very good. A few issues I have with her, right? I think she's not the fastest in the world. She's fast in certain areas and athletic in certain areas. I was talking about this on some other podcast. I can't remember where I was talking about it, but Miesha Tate, you know, who was a better athlete between Miesha Tate and Ketlen Vieira? I think in some areas Viera is, and in some areas Tate is. So I don't think it's one of those ones where you can write it off totally. But I think in terms of strength and in terms of the way I put it was, over a short distance, I think Viera is probably better. Over a longer distance, maybe Tate is better in terms of speed, maybe not in terms of cardio, but I do think, oddly enough, in terms of cardio as well. But I think her single biggest issue, and I look at this from a judging point of view, I talk a lot about that as well, obviously, is her output. I just don't think there's enough output. Obviously, you know that Yana Kunitskaya fight was a very controversial one in terms of judging, in terms of who won that fight. But I do think that issue is the output. And if she can throw in, you know, 10% more shots, especially on the ground, especially if she gets on top, a lot of rounds won't be close for her. I think she will dominate lots of rounds, but I think that 10% is an awful hard thing to do, an awful hard thing to add in. So I do think she needs to do that. But you know, I think if she can do that, she's a very, very tough person for anyone. And when you look at Miesha Tate, obviously she was out for 5 years. But when she came back in her comeback fight against Marion Hano, she she looked less muscular but more lean, if that makes sense. I thought her cardio looked really, really good. She kept going, and it was a fantastic display, I thought, from Miesha Tate. She usually, when someone's out that long and they come back, you're looking at them and you're like, oh, well, will this be the same? Will they be able to do what they did before? And for Miesha Tate, not necessarily she was doing what she did before, but I think she was different and maybe better in some ways. So it was a really good performance in that one. She, as I mentioned, she looked comfortable. I thought her cardio was a little bit better. Her hooks and her straights were really good, strong on top, tough. The biggest thing I took as a positive for that from Miesha Tate was the in-between bits. I mentioned with Viera, that's the issue for her. I think her Miesha Tate's transition from boxing to wrestling and her ability to land shots after an exchange is almost unmatched in that division. Maybe there are a few other people, but compared to Viera, it's incomparable. I think Miesha Tate would be a great example for Viera of what she needs to improve in her game in that area. Now, in other areas, she's better. This isn't even enough fight in some areas. It's a very hard one to pick, though. I don't know who I'm picking here. I might probably not give my pick here. I probably wait another bit and see when the betting odds come out before I do give my official pick. But I think it's a very interesting fight. A lot of people are talking about Miesha Tate being pushed into title contention with a win here because she's a big name and she would make for a good name for Amanda Nunes when she's quickly kind of running out from. She's fighting Juliana Pena coming up pretty soon, and I know she's already beaten Miesha Tate as well. But I think people will probably have forgotten that it's been so long. But I'm not sure it's the easiest fight in the world for her because, as I mentioned, Viera does hit hard. She is strong. She will not wilt easily, and she can't be pushed. Like most people in that division can be pushed when they're meeting someone as good as Miesha Tate. So I'm looking forward to this one as well. I think I mentioned the cardio earlier on, kind of by mistake, but it's not it's cannot be mistaken how important it is in this fight. I do think if Tate, 5 rounds, I think if she can, not necessarily weather the storm, because I don't think there will be a big storm from Viera. I don't think she's that type of fighter. But if she can stay out of danger early in the first 2 or 3 rounds, I think when it goes into the 4th, 5th round, Miesha Tate will fancy herself to win those rounds because of that cardio. And maybe in the first few rounds, if she can even turn it into a bit of a clinch match, where even if Viera's winning a round or 2, she's getting a little bit more tired, and then Miesha can take over 3, 4, and 5. I think that'd be a smart display. Now, that's a tough thing to do in MMA. Fighting a 5-round game plan, it's very much not an easy thing to do whatsoever. But maybe that she will be looking at that. Definitely think she will be looking at those in-between bits. When there's an exchange, Miesha will try to come out of it as well as she can and then land bang, 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 and then step out afterwards. Or the Miesha's, it's not even the shots after the exchange. I think it's the shots in terms of the takedowns after the exchange, which Miesha is really, really good at as well. And which she did really good. She did really well against Marion Renault. So that's a big thing I will be looking out for here, is kind of those, not the initial kind of the meeting of the two of them, who lands first. It's who lands last and who lands the better shots last. That initial exchange, I think, is important, as it always is in fights. I think the initial exchange is more important for Viera because she lands those 1-2s at a better rate, I think. But the end of the exchange is more important for Tate, which could make for a very interesting fight to judge, as well as to watch. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And on the ground, I'm very interested to see who has the upper hand or who will be able to gain the upper hand. Viera is very strong on top, really strong on top, but so is Tate. She might be as big or strong as Viera, but I think her top game is really, really good as well. So whoever can get that initial position on top might be the winner of the fight. And if Tate can get it from those, post exchanges, if you want to put it that way, it might be the win and losing of the fight for her. But as I say, I'm really, really looking forward to this fight, and the co-main event as well. Look, it's not the best card in the world, but there are some interesting things on it, some interesting fighters on it, and as I mentioned, the top 2 should be good. And I think is it early here in Ireland? Actually, I don't think it is that early, but we'll get over that. We've had a lot of them early recently. All right, everybody, thank you very much for watching. As I said, please click subscribe. Please click thumbs up and keep it locked to Sherdog Sherdog.com and our YouTube page for everything to do with mixed martial arts. My name is Sheehan. I'll see you all next time. Good luck.